Hey guys, Burns Vaughan here. In this video I'm going to explain to you whether 16 gigs of RAM is good for Windows, right? So there's a few different versions of Windows that came out. The most recent is Windows 11 and most people are upgrading from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So in general, most computers you buy nowadays will have 8 gigs or more of RAM. Whereas if you're building a custom computer or buying one that's more high-end, it'll have 16 GB or more. As a general rule, 8 gigs of RAM is the minimum to comfortably run Windows 10 and Windows 11. So provided you have 8 gigs or more, then you're good. Now the other thing is, if you're using your computer for gaming, for using resource intensive programs such as video editing software, photo editing software, or industry specific software like CAD drafting software, then you want to go with 16 gigs or more, just because the requirements of a computer is much more. I've summarized more of this in this article here, which I will link in the description. But essentially this is based on some testing data I did, and from that I also did some surveys where people responded to the question, how much RAM is good for a computer? And as you can see here from the table, 87.5% of people said that 16 GB is the ideal amount of RAM. A few people said 32 gig is good. Essentially with 32 gig it's a little bit too much than what you need, but what it does do is future-proof your computer, so 3-4 years down the line you'll still have enough RAM. But the thing is, RAM is very cheap to buy and is easy to install, so there's not much point in doing that, because it's not necessary unless you're doing very high-end stuff like using those programs I mentioned before. Even high-end gaming, 16 GB is pretty much enough, whereas 32 is kind of more than enough. And then for each of the different versions of Windows there's a recommended amount of RAM, so I've summarized that in this table here so you can have a look. Yep, that pretty much sums it up. If you have any questions, just drop it in the comments, and thanks for watching.